Thank you, Francesco. Thank you, Francesco. I'm Alessandro Campanella, and I'm a MikroTik trainer. And well, I can uh, talk about myself as a MikroTik evangelist in such a way. I'm in the communications since 2003, approximately. It's 20 years as a, well, let's say a producer or consultant, trainer, and so on. So, can you see my presentation? Because I think it's not this
Yes.
one, but I want to share my screen. So let's have a look at this. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, great. So I can share from here. And so it's me. I'm Alessandro. And this is my contacts. So, what I want to share with you today is something particular. I mean, I try to understand if FlashStart and the DNS itself can be useful to protect routers. Not people behind routers, but the router itself. So the exercise is to determine if these FlashStar filters works or not. And spoiler, it is. um, I construct a honeypot trap. So what is an honeypot trap? An honeypot trap is a security mechanism, of course, that attracts um, those attackers who wants to try to exploit vulnerabilities on our routers and to try to catch information or to enter the routers itself. It attracts cyber criminals in such a way. So this is the honeypot definition, and why I use a honeypot in a MikroTik router, because I find out that when I switch on my MikroTik router with a public IP address on it, in a couple of minutes, of course, if we set a weak password on it, let's say password, in a couple of minutes, we have this kind of attack. An API attack that create a new group, a new user group, a new user, new administrator, and it is still possible to operate on the router, to modify the configuration, to do whatever we want, but we cannot delete this new user inside our routers. It becomes a super user, and of course, we don't want this behavior on our routers. So it's better to protect, of course, this access. So first of all, set a very strong password on your router before entering an IP, a public IP address on it. But by the way, it's very peculiar to have a lot of brute forces attack on MikroTik devices. And we build up a honeypot trap. So one weak link to rule them all. Okay, it's sounds like the Lord of the Ring, you know. We can leverage this attack to create our own list of potential criminals, and we can collect information, we can collect sources, and prevent attack. What we want to do is to collect all the information, and then we want to share this information to other routers. So this router is not the one we want to protect, but is the one we want not to protect in order to share all the information to the other routers and protect them. What I did, I base my presentation on the reverse DNS technique. So what is a reverse DNS? When we look up for a domain, we usually have an IP address back from the DNS server. What we want to do now is do the opposite. So we want to ask a DNS server if is there DNS, a URL linked to this IP address. And then we want to do another lookup for the domain name we receive. So we do the reverse DNS and then another DNS query to the DNS. Internet Engineering Task Force suggests very strongly to set the reverse DNS on our IP addresses. So ISPs are very they know absolutely they need to set these DNS records, this pointer, in order to have the reverse DNS complete successfully. But sometimes we don't have this. So we need to understand what to do if an IP address has no reverse DNS. The reverse DNS based blocking is secure. Yes, it is. Of course, we can try to understand if there is a reverse DNS, evaluate this reverse DNS. However, it should be implemented truthfully, because of course we can have some false positive and access issues to our routers. So we need to understand how to do this, but it helps a lot. Okay, so what about FlashStart threat protection? Francesco told us how it works, and I collect some information on these two slides just to summarize what we can do with FlashStart. FlashStart has a very clever threat protection filter, and we can select what to filter, what, of course, to allow. In this scenario, I enable all the threat protection, and that's all. And I make the FlashStart blocking every request directed to these domains. If I ask FlashStart to resolve some of these domains, FlashStart replies with a blocking page. So the stop.flashstart.net domain, it replies with access denied, or we can query also the API of FlashStart with the domain. It's very interesting. We can use it with API, because we can, from the router, manipulate all the behavior of the FlashStart itself. So, for example, adding new domains in the block list or in the whitelist. Of course, we can ask some information about our profile, and we also can use the check domain query from the API. It's very clever to have this information on through the API. I think we can build a lot of things with this. So let's try to preparing the trap. First of all, we need to configure the router itself in a stateful way. What does it mean? If the router is filtering the traffic belonging to connection opened by the router itself, it could be very tricky to understand which traffic is going to be safe and which traffic is going to be need to be blocked. So first of all, we need to accept all the traffic belongings to connection opened by the router itself. This is done with this simple rule, this one. IP firewall filter, add chain input action accept, input connection state established and related. So it means accept all established and related packets belonging to existing connection. Then we need to accept traffic from a whitelist because of course we need to access the router the same. We have to ask this router which are the IP address in the list. So we need to build up a whitelist. Let's say, for example, I want to add my domain in the whitelist like this: IP firewall address list, add address home.1off.it, that is my domain, list whitelist. Okay. So now that we have our firewall configured, we need to add a new rule to capture the traffic coming from the internet and directed to the router itself. Of course, what we want to do is to add these IP addresses to a list of IP address that need to be tested. So I create this new filter rule and I add all the traffic coming from the Ethernet one. In this case, the router has the Ethernet one as the one. The source address list is not tested IPs. Why? Because we need to test only new connection, not connection we already tested. And we add this connection with the IP address of the source connection to the to be tested list. It's a simple rule, but it's able to add all these addresses to the list. It is very important to set this parameter, destination address type local. It means only traffic that has the IP address of the router as a destination address. So this rule will avoid all the broadcast and every kind of other traffic that is not need to be tested in this way. And last, for the preparation, is to create these 4 row rules. Why row? Row is at the very beginning of the firewall process. It means it utilizes few CPU during the filtering of the traffic. So I want to prevent all the traffic coming from blacklist, quarantine, and suspicious list we are going to create now to enter the router. So this is only an honeypot. I don't want no one to be able to connect to this router. So I create these four routes: 1 for accepting whitelist, and 3 for dropping all the traffic coming from blacklist, quarantine, and suspicious. Now I tell you how I categorize these senders, of course. So let's have a look at some very, I think, advanced scripting functionalities in RouterOS. Do you know in RouterOS we can create functions? Yes, it is possible. We can create function and pass arguments to RouterOS. It's very, very important to do this because we can create this function and utilize this function later in some script more than once. So it's very, very useful. It's something like real programming software. It's in the version 7. They did a lot of things to let us build a very complex script. So, for example, we can create a function and the function is declared as a global variable. Now we will see the syntax, but it's very simple. And with the command return, we can return, of course, some values to the part of the script that call this function. All the commands that are inside the do block is executed as a function. We can also pass arguments as shown in the code on the bottom. So for example, global my function do put means show me on the output. This is the value of argument a column and the variable a. This is the function I mean, and when I call the function in this way, I can call my func a equal this is argument a value. The output will be this is the value of the argument a column, this is argument a value. So it substitutes the a variable with content of the variable in this way and compose the sentence. This way we can create a lot of things. For example, I use this function. All the scripts inside this presentation is working, so you can copy and paste on your configuration. I will show you later how it works in real life scenario, but I decided to add all these scripts inside the presentation so you can easily copy and paste just to have a look at the functionalities. So the test domain function is used to call the FlashStart API. Yes, we can use MikroTik and fetch tool to call APIs. For example, the FlashStart one. This is my key. We will delete it after the presentation, so it's not a big problem we have here. Clear, and the test domain function is done as shown. So test domain, what the function does, it calls the FlashStart APIs and process the result. Have a look at the use of the arrays. So for example, the result is an array that collects three information: the status and data and something else. I want to verify if the status is finished, and if the status is finished, then I want to deserialize. This is a new command in the version 7, the early, not in the early, in the last 7 versions, we have that this deserialize is done to parse information belonging to JSON file. So I want to deserialize the data coming from API and insert these content in this verification. So if the content of the data, the parameter block, sorry, of the data is true, I will insert it in the is blocked, or otherwise, if the reply is false, the is block variable is set as false. And I return this is blocked variable to the script calling this function. Okay, I know it's quite tricky and it's quite complex, but it's a very programming system. I'm trying to show you how it works. So this script mainly ask API, FlashStart API, if a domain that I pass as an argument is blocked or not. And it replies with true or false. It's very easy. Okay, so syntax, text domain equal to google.com. Is blocked or not? True or false? And that's all. After that, I have another function. I don't want to explain how it works because it's more complex than the other one, but I need this function because the FlashStart API wants the top level domain and not the whole domain. So I need to crop the domain, for example, www.oneoff.it need to be cropped as oneoff.it. Only the top level domain is going to be passed to the API of FlashStart. So the syntax is get domain equal to www.oneoff.it or whatever we pass, and the return is a crop domain, so oneoff.it. That's all. We can use this function inside the script. So how the main script is working. This is the core of the lab, the test input IP script. What does it do? It catalog all the centers with reverse DNS and check if the reverse DNS is consistent or not. First of all, I want to resolve the reverse DNS of the IP of course, the traffic that is coming to the router with the Google DNS server, just to have a domain name to be checked. After that, I send this domain to the FlashStart DNS server to verify, to check if this domain is blocked or not, or if there is or not a IP address linked to that domain. If the IP address is blocked by FlashStart, it's very easy because I only need to add this IP address to the blacklist, and that's all. Then, if the reverse DNS is consistent, it means the same result, the IP address is resolved by Google DNS, and what the Google DNS resolved is back resolved to an IP address with FlashStart, and the IP address is the same as the one I sent to Google. Everything is okay, but it's still suspicious because I am receiving traffic from that IP. So why is this IP sending traffic to me? Maybe I don't want it. So I insert in a suspicious list. And of course, if I don't receive any reverse DNS for the IP address is trying to send traffic to my router, I insert in the quarantine list. I don't want to be reached by IP address without a reverse DNS, but it's my opinion. You can do whatever you want. This is the main script. Okay, this is very complex. I don't want to read line by line. This script is commented. If you want, you can read it carefully, but I just want to analyze some blocks. So, for example, the first part is very important, is the way we can include function inside other script. Do you remember the get domain and the test domain function we created? Of course, we can declare, we need to declare this function at the very beginning of the script. After that, we can process the script. And the script is a for each loop. For each address in the address list to be tested, do you remember we created it with the firewall? What we do, we ask Google, which is the reverse DNS. We also need to put this dot at the end of the domain away because it's not useful for us. We can't ask FlashStart to resolve google.com dot. So we need to take this dot away from at the end of the string. Then we want to resolve the DNS for reverse DNS with FlashStart DNS, and we collect the information in the temp reverse variable. After that, if the temp reverse is verified and checked by FlashStart with the APIs. You remember the function test domain? This function called the script I previously showed you with the domain, of course. I send the whole domain, so the whole string and the cropped part, both. And if one or, you know, the or and operator and the other, so or one or the other is blocked, then insert inside the blacklist with this comment is blocked by API. Otherwise, if FlashStart is blocking the domain because I receive another IP address different from the one I tested, it's blocked the same because FlashStart is blocking this IP address, this domain. And then if the resolution is correct, inserting suspicious for 10 minutes, but you can decide the duration of the address list. And of course, if there is no reverse DNS found for this IP, I insert in the quarantine, as I told you before. So this is the main script. I mean, it's quite complex. It takes some time to be built, but it works, of course. Now I need to add the scripts to the scheduler in order to run the script each 30 seconds, the script that analyzes the sender, and the other one include at the very beginning, the startup just once to test domain and test input IP. This no, I'm sorry. There is a error on the slide. I will send you the correct one. This is not the correct include script. We need to include the other function, the test domain and get domain here, not the test input IP. No, not a big deal. Not a big deal, of course. Okay, so let's have a look at how it works in real life. Why not? So let's have a look. I have this router here. I connect to that router. I hope you can see this. I have a DHCP client disabled, of course, because as soon as I enable this DHCP client, I will receive a public IP address and attacking will begin. So let's have a look at the firewall. The configuration is the one I enter in the script. I enable this rule that enters that populate to be tested rule. I have the row rules as described. Mark say that I'm not sure, but the text, it's very blurry. Yeah, really. I'm so... This screen is blurry. It's blurry. I know. I really don't know how to solve this problem because my bandwidth is enough to share contents, and I hope you can see this presentation clearly. Um, well,
Maybe
something.
Alessandro, try to restrict the resolution of your screen. Try to put it larger, maybe.
Oh, Mark now say that your video image is crystal clear, but uh, from the camera. Okay. Uh,
It
maybe I
comes a
need.
bit foggy to me, but if you increase the resolution, I think it will be fine. It will be okay.
Increase the resolution. What do you mean by increase the resolution? Because I
In your
have
screen.
five key. I have a five key monitor.
Okay, okay.
More than this, I can't really do. Maybe something like
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
maximum. Maybe I need to decrease the resolution. Maybe it's better if I decrease the resolution.
Yeah, decrease. Yeah, decrease. Yeah, I think that click meeting has some difficulties to deal with very high resolutions.
Okay, we can try to modify the resolution and maybe native resolution or something like this. It's huge, but
Yeah,
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 it's better.
better, better. Great.
Okay, maybe something like this could be okay. The same. Have a look.
Very well.
This could be okay. Can you see this screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great, 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 great. So um, let's try to enable this. Okay, I have my IP address now. No, no, no. Thank you for interrupting because it's very important for me to you to see clearly what I'm showing you. So have a look. We have all these kind of attack or tentative to be connected to the router. Have a look how it works. We have this blacklist blocked by FlashStart. The domain, this domain is blocked, this domain is blocked. We have some quarantine here, some other blacklist, and have a look. As soon as the connection is coming, the scripting is doing the job for us and it's collecting the information. Have a look at the log. I insert also in the log some information. Um, okay, now we can see, oh, maybe it's system logging. System logging is not showing everything. Yes, of course, we need to enable it to see what happens. Yeah, the echo, it's okay. So now we are trying to connect all the information. Have a look. Quarantine, blacklist, blacklist, blacklist. It's working. You know, it's working fine. This IP address is collected as blacklist, 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 quarantine, and also we have this suspicious because yes, the domain is correct. It comes from Amazon, AWS, but why it's connecting to my router. Have a look how many connection your server.d and all these requests are blocked by FlashStart itself. Okay, let's have a look. It's working very fine now. And also we have this log is inside the script. So input traffic received from, have a look, received from, resolution consistent, reverse DNS is the same, but added to the quarantine because I really don't want to suspicious because I really don't want to receive this traffic. This is blocked by FlashStart, is blacklist, 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 have a look, blacklist, and so on and so on. It's working. If I leave this router enabled for hours, I will collect a lot of information, a lot of IP address to be blocked. Okay, so let's go on. Let's go on. Now we want to all this information to be shared to other routers. So we can use REST API in RouterOS. Starting from the RouterOS version 7, we have the JSON wrapper inside the RouterOS. We can enable this function, and to do this, we need to add a valid certificate inside the router. I did it with Let's Encrypt. You know that Let's Encrypt is inside the RouterOS the same? It is. So in system certificate, I ask for a certificate in Let's Encrypt, to Let's Encrypt. It's a very easy function and an easy call. We only need an IP, a public IP address on it. We need of course, a domain name. I set this onapart.oneoff.it as a domain name, and I create the query that is certificate enable as a certificate DNS name onapart.oneoff.it, and if the 80 port is enabled on the router, I now receive a new certificate inside the router. I still have this certificate, so I don't need to obtain another one. But this is the only command I need to send. So this is a certificate, and I need to insert inside the IP settings. Not IP settings, but IP services. The certificate on the SSL www service HTTPS means. Okay, I need to insert the certificate here. So now the API is working. Have a look how many domains we are receiving traffic from. It's great, absolutely great. Have a look. These are all blacklisted by FlashStart. So after that, I create a group. I create a group for the APIs, the user, use a strong password on it, please, and then I'm ready to share this address list to other routers. This is the function I created to obtain address list. Let's say, for example, get address list, add list, blacklist, and it call the honeypot.oneoff.it REST AP firewall address list, and the list. I obtain all the information. I insert this address list inside the address list of the router. I don't want to explain how it works deeply, but it's not so complex. It's something like if it's like this, then insert to the list. It's very easy, or not so easy, but easy to understand. And of course, I insert these three query, one for the blacklist, one for the suspicious, one for the quarantine, and insert to the schedule. Once we create this list inside the routers, we can create the firewall rules as we like. So we can decide to block traffic from blacklist, to discard the input and only input traffic from suspicious, and evaluate how to do with quarantines. We can also block forward for blacklist. Why not? Because it's not necessary to receive traffic inside the network belonging to some blacklist traffic. So, sharing this information. New inbox. This is the router. Connect. And wow, it's shared. It's just share, but I want to show you everything from the really beginning. So, for example, IP address list, firewall address list, and I want to delete everything. Have a look. Yeah. And now, let's have a look at the log. And as soon as the script is called again in 30 seconds, have a look. The blacklist is populated, the suspicious is populated, and the quarantine is populated. Let's have a look how it works. Okay, I'm very happy on this script. So, now that we have all this information shared between routers, we can decide what to do. For example, to block this script, this traffic coming from these IP addresses. And I want to recall that I want to tell you again that all this blacklist belongs to FlashStart DNS query. It works very, very good. So, conclusions. It is not all honey, in my opinion, because, of course, we need to check very careful how it works, but this is not what I show you is not best practice to configure your router. I mean, I don't want you to copy and paste these scripts and consider this as the panacea of firewall. It is not, but it's a very good demonstration that FlashStart DNS its effectiveness is effective. It works very good with blocking list, and as a result, we can say that FlashStart is extremely effective in identifying malicious senders. Of course, it is. The use of the DNS can be a valid method to filter traffic, and MikroTik offers us a lot of tools, scripting tools, to create this integration with FlashStart between routers and routers, and so this is my conclusion. And of course, I hope you enjoy my presentation for today.